Attention, all of humanity. This is not a test. Drop to your knees immediately and submit to your master, the government. Everything that you thought was conspiracy has just become reality. Welcome to the New World Order. Enjoy the mark of the beast, and above all else, have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for submitting, and please remember, we are always watching you. Hi, it's Lindley Oz, and wow, it's been an interesting year so far, prophetically speaking, with so many things going on, and now Jade Helm and all the chatter on the internet about Jade Helm, the different opinions, different theories, and different ideas. But I came across this article on the Economic Collapse blog, and this is also in the USA Today and other news websites. But it certainly is interesting and worth pondering, considering there's a lot of talk about the economy collapsing at the end of the Shemitah cycle, which is September the 13th. If you know anything about Jonathan Cahn and what he's been saying, he goes into great detail about it. I do have some videos of him on my YouTube channel. So let's take a look at this. It says major U.S. retailers are closing more than 6,000 stores. Now, another interesting piece that I have for you, which I'll reveal after this, I cannot confirm that it is true. I don't know for sure. It's what my contact told me. I'm going to share it with you, okay? But I, once again, cannot confirm its authenticity. It is something that we're just going to have to wait and see if it indeed happens, but it is certainly worth praying about and knowing about just in case. It could be nothing. It may not happen. Like I said, I don't know, but it's what my contact says will happen. First things first, let's look at this. It says if the U.S. economy really is improving, then why are big U.S. retailers permanently shutting down thousands of stores? The retail apocalypse that I have written about so frequently appears to be accelerating. As you will see below, major U.S. retailers have announced that they are closing more than 6,000 locations, but economic conditions in this country are still fairly stable. So if this is happening already, what are things going to look like once the next recession strikes? Now, Michael Snyder goes on to say that for a long time, he had been pointing to 2015 as a major turning point for the U.S. economy. He still feels that way. Since he had started his economic collapse blog at the end of 2009, he never really saw as many indications that we were actually headed into another major economic downturn as what he does right now. So he feels that it's imminent right now. If retailers are closing this many stores already, what are our malls and shopping centers going to look like a few years from now? Now, he has a long detailed list here. It says the list below comes from information compiled by about.com. He's also included major retailers that have announced plans to close at least 10 stores. Most of these closures will take place this year, but in some instances, the closures are scheduled to be phased in over a number of years. As you can see, the number of stores that are being permanently shut down is absolutely staggering. Now, the information here about the stores closing down has very much so to do with the information I'm going to share with you that I just mentioned. I can't convey to you the authenticity of it, but I'm sharing it with you regardless, because if it's true, then you guys need to know about it. And whether or not it's true, we need to pray about it, because it is certainly something that in the days and hours and times we're living in is foreseeable. It could very well happen. Of course, the reasons why these particular chains are allegedly closing, not the ones you see here on the screen, but the ones I'm going to share with you here in a few moments, is for much different reasons. Okay, so you can see this long list here. Okay, 180 Abercrombie and Fitch by 2015, 75 Aeropostales, American Eagle Outfitters 150, 223 Barnes and Nobles through 2023. The Body Shop, Body Central 265. I mean, you can see all of these. Children's Place through 2017, Christopher and Banks, Coach, Dollar Tree. I mean, the list just goes on and on. J.C. Penney, 40 stores. Pep Boys in the coming years. Target, Canada, bankruptcy. Well, we've heard about the Targets that are closing to do with Maple Resolve, Canada's version of Jade Helm. So you can see this list here, and it's pretty long. Now, Michael Snyder goes on to state, why is this happening? Well, he believes that, without a doubt, internet retailing is taking a huge toll on brick and mortar stores, and this is a trend that is not going to end anytime soon. And yes, we can all attest to that the internet market is huge, and a lot of businesses have suffered as a result. Even like the movie industry, people prefer to use video on demand like Netflix and so forth. So companies like Blockbuster Video have gone out of business. You know, the good old fashioned stuff. Look at iTunes. How many people actually buy hard copy CDs and so forth compared to what they spend on iTunes? Why? Because on iTunes you get it now and you download it to your computer. So the internet is booming, but it's putting certain businesses out of business. Now, he says, as Thad Beversdorf has pointed out, we have also seen a stunning decline in true discretionary consumer spending over the past 6 months. What we find is that over the past 6 months, we had a tremendous drop in true discretionary consumer spending. Within the overall downtrend, we do see a bit of a rally in February, but quite ominously, that rally failed and the bottom absolutely fell out. Again, the importance is it confirms the fundamental theory that consumer spending is showing the initial signs of a severe pullback. A worrying signal to be certain, as we would expect this pullback to begin impacting other areas of consumer spending. The reason is that American consumers typically do not voluntarily pull back like that on spending, but do so because they have run out of credit. And if credit is running thin, it will surely be felt in all spending. The truth is that middle-class U.S. consumers are tapped out. Most families are just scraping by financially from month to month. For most Americans, there simply is not a whole lot of extra money left over to go shopping with these days. In other words, if you are anywhere in my age bracket, I'm in my early 40s, or if you're in your mid to late 30s, you might remember the 80s. Now, the 80s was a time when everyone was spending money, the economy was good, and so forth. Well, it's not like that today. In fact, at this point, approximately 1 out of every 4 Americans spend at least half of their incomes just on rent alone. More than 1 in 4 Americans are spending at least half of their income on rent, half of their family income on rent, leaving little money left to purchase groceries, buy clothing, or put gas in the car, new figures have revealed. A staggering 11.25 million households consume 50% or more of their income on housing and utilities, according to an analysis of census data by nonprofit firm Enterprise Community Partners. And 1.8 million of these households spend at least 70% of their paychecks on rent. The surging cost of rental housing has affected a rising number of families. Since the Great Recession hit in 2007, officials define housing cost in excess of 30% of income as burdensome. For decades, the U.S. economy was powered by a free-spending middle class that had plenty of discretionary income to throw around. But now that the middle class is being systematically destroyed, that paradigm is changing. Americans' families simply do not have the same resources that they once did. And guess what? That spells big trouble for retailers. Now, he finalizes this article saying, As you read this article, the US still has more retail space per person than any other nation on the planet. But as stores close by the thousands, space available signs are going to be popping up everywhere. This is especially going to be true in poor and lower middle class neighborhoods. Especially after what we just witnessed in Baltimore, many retailers are not going to hesitate to shut down underperforming locations in impoverished areas. And remember, the next major economic crisis has not even arrived yet. Once it does, the business environment in this country is going to change dramatically, and a few years from now, America is going to look far different than it does right now. Well, I have to add, I think America is going to look far different than it does right now, not in a few years from now, but possibly by the end of this year or early next year. That's what I think, according to what I'm seeing in the news, according to the prophecies God is giving people, according to the book of Revelation and how the news is unfolding from day to day. So things certainly are looking right for this economic collapse to occur in September after the Shemitah cycle is completed. Again, the last day of the Shemitah cycle is September the 13th. And it just so happens Jade Helm is going to complete their training that they're doing on the 15th, 2 days later. Now, the information that I told you about that I have for you, I'm just going to state again because I do have listeners that don't really listen. I have trolls that misquote me or try to say something that I didn't say. So I'm going to make it clear one more time. The next bit of information I have for you was told to me by one of my contacts. I cannot confirm it. Okay, I researched and looked up. That's how I ended up finding this article here. Okay, there's no way I can confirm it. There's not anything about it. But I am going to share it with you for the purposes of prayer and preparedness, because it is something that could very well happen. And once again, we'll see if it happens or not. Only time will tell by the dates that he gave me. You know, hopefully it won't happen. I certainly hope not. But there's always that chance. And if I'm told something by someone who I have some trust in and so forth, or somebody that is in the know about these things, then I'm certainly going to pray about it and then share it with you. So once again, I don't know if this is going to happen or not. I'm only sharing it with you. I cannot confirm this next bit of information. Nonetheless, here it is. If you remember recently, the information you see at the top here was information I shared with you to do with a coming comet. Okay, again, on that particular post, I cannot confirm it other than what everybody seems to be saying, what everybody seems to be prophesying, the times and the hours we're living in, and things that are going on in this world right now. Now, the information you see below, there's like a dashed line there. Okay, this is the new information that I was given. Okay, this is what I was told exactly. I was told the third week of August, major U.S. stores and grocery chain stores will be closing indefinitely. And then I asked a question. He said, yes, the fourth week at the latest. They are putting this off as long as possible. Shiloh's doors close September 4th. MT Weather closes down September 7th. Now, I don't know what Shiloh or MT Weather is. He says the Google barges will be placed in locations sometime in early August for command and control. Russia, China, India, France, and the United States are going to take one last stab days before with a nuclear missile barge ahead of it. On that day, you will see, for the only time in our lives, 500 to 600 nukes skybound. Now, this is in regards to that comet, okay? He says, yes, in front of the incoming comet, it will be man's last attempt to divert or destroy it. Then he tells me September, just days before, that was in regards to, I asked him about this thing where they were going to be shooting at it. All right. And that we would see 500 to 600 nukes skybound and so forth. I asked him if that would be in August or when they're expecting this comet. He said September, just days before. Then he told me in regards to people and to the elitist. He says, yes, they will be in the underground cities while we burn, drown, suffocate, or freeze to death. They who will be in the underground cities, he is referring to the wealthy, the elitist, and the government people, and so forth. Okay, so again, there's the information. If indeed there is a comet coming, again, we have a gazillion different prophecies. So I can't ignore this because of the prophecies that are being spoken about something happening in September. So because of that, I have to share this with you. I wish I could confirm it for sure, and I knew, but only time will tell. I guess on these dates and during this time period, we will find out for sure. Maybe nothing will happen. I don't know. All I can do is share with you what I'm told, and that's all I know to do. Let me show you something interesting, though. One moment. Okay, the gentleman that actually has had these visions and dreams, I've spoken with him via email, and he has agreed to let me interview him. So I'll have an interview with more details soon. Apparently, there's some newer developments and so forth. But let me just share with you the things that he has had a vision of. And he is a minister. He's Holy Spirit filled minister. It says that he's had visions of a coming flood to Florida and terrorist attacks. Okay, so let's see. He had a vision of the Washington, D.C. terrorist attack. He says his very first vision took place on September the 11th of 2001. And it was the first time he ever experienced something like that. Okay, now this is a long article, so I'm just brushing over it here just to give you some ideas. Number 2, Florida wiped out by a flood. Well, let's read that one. Back in 2008, I was given a vision that frightened me to my core. My family and I were visiting with my parents in Fort Myers, Florida for the weekend. After dinner, we said our goodbyes and hit the road to head back to St. Petersburg, which is about an hour and 45 minutes away. We were on the road for about 15 minutes when my kids fell asleep in the back of the vehicle. My wife said she was going to lay her head back and try to get a quick nap. I looked at my wife and kids, and I was so thankful for what God had done in my life and in the life of my family. As soon as she closed her eyes, I started praying to God. I was telling God how thankful my family and I are for the life He has given us. In the middle of the prayer, I found myself standing in the living room of my home in St. Petersburg, Florida. Instantly, it went from nighttime on the road to daytime in my house. I had no idea what was happening, nor where my family was. I looked around, and everything had a tinge of blue to it. The walls shimmered with diamonds of light, the way it looks when you're swimming underwater in a pool on a sunny day. At that time, I had no idea where the light reflections were coming from, so I scanned the room to try and figure it out. As I looked up, I saw the roof was partially ripped off the northwest corner of the house, and I could see that the house was actually underwater. The surface of the water looked like it was at least 15 feet above the roof line. Now I saw where the light patterns were coming from. I could see the light streaming down from the surface as it reflected all over the walls of the living room. As I stared in amazement at the scene I was standing in, I was suddenly brought back to where I was praying in my car with my family all around me. Now, something like this certainly could happen from a tsunami. And we have people like Perry Stone, who recently came out on the Sid Roth show about some dreams and visions God was giving him to do with something of this nature. There's all sorts of people right now talking about something of this nature. a major asteroid, comet, or meteor event would cause something just like this. Once again, I have to share this with you. Now, back to what the contact told me real quick. I did forget to mention, I had asked him, why would they need to close all these grocery stores for such an event? And his response to me, which I showed you on the screen, but I forgot to tell you what I had asked, was that this way, they could take all that food for themselves and all the supplies that are in the grocery stores and put it underground. I mean, it sounds very hard to believe. It sounds very crazy. It sounds very conspiracy theorist type of stuff. I can't help it. But I am being upfront with you, telling you that I can't confirm this. I just think with everything that's going on that it is a possibility and that we should keep our eyes open. Let's take a look at some more stuff here. He says, to say I was overwhelmed would be an understatement. I got that dream in 2008. Since then, we moved out of Florida and we moved to Indiana. Sadly, we still own the house in Florida since it is financially underwater, no pun intended. But as far as what I saw, it, along with all of Florida, will be destroyed. How can I say that all of Florida will be destroyed? Well, our house in Florida sits on the second highest ground in St. Petersburg, based on an Army Corps of Engineers survey. Since Florida is predominantly flat and my house was about 25 feet underwater, I can safely assume that all of Florida will be underwater. Since we lived on such high ground, we did not need to purchase flood insurance. Well, my vision told me otherwise. No amount of flood insurance will fix what is coming. Now, early in the article, he talks about how every time God has given him a dream or a vision, it always comes to pass. So he's very concerned about this. Now, here's an interview he was on Rick Wiles. I will post that on my article that I'm doing on Before It's News. Bob Barber, a Christian End Times researcher, was also interested in his story and posted it. Now, here's one that he had of a tsunami on the East Coast. Okay, this is something that's being prophesied by tons of people right now. Since we currently live so far from our extended family members, we often do group vacations in various areas. I had a dream where I knew we were on vacation with all of our family members in a condo on the beach. I can't explain why, but it felt like the East Coast, somewhere between Virginia and Florida. The front of the house had tall, huge glass windows, and the house faced the water. I was standing on the deck looking out at the ocean when, way off in the distance, I could see a dark line across the horizon that did not look normal. As I watched, the dark line started to grow in thickness very rapidly. I remember being mesmerized by the line in the distance as it was getting bigger and bigger by the second. At first, I thought it was a squall line. I've been boating for years and I've seen a squall line before, but this was different and was moving much faster than a storm. When it came into view, I realized it was a wall of water coming at the beach house with intense speed. I ran into the house and started screaming to my family to warn them of what was coming. They all laughed at me and did not believe me. I stood there in shock because no one cared about what was about to happen. In reality, it was already too late to do anything about it anyways. The wall of water looked like the wall of water in the movie The Day After Tomorrow. I have never seen anything like it. At that time, I remember getting the dream soon after I was first saved in 2002. Now, here's what we were just talking about the financial collapse. He dreamed about that. Imprisoned for his faith. He dreamed about that. The rapture, his thoughts, his hope. Okay. So these things are really relevant because this guy's not the only one having these dreams and visions. You can go to YouTube and do a search, Google and do a search. There are all sorts of people from all walks of life, all different parts of the world, having these same visions. I want you to understand that if a heavenly body were to hit this earth, and it's being prophesied that it's going to hit out near Puerto Rico. Okay, there was even a movie, and I saw a movie clip of it, where the zip code, it was from a movie, I wish I could think of the name of it. It was from a movie about a heavenly body hitting the earth. And when the heavenly body hits the earth, all hell breaks loose. And in the movie, there's a close-up of a box of Ensure. On the box of Ensure is a number. Well, it's a bunch of numbers together. Apparently, that exact number is the zip code for the area that is being said that a heavenly body is going to hit. I will find that video and post it for you on my article on Before It's News so you can see for yourself. All I have to do is go to my video history. In fact, let me, well, no, I don't have time to stop and look that up. I will have it on my article on Before It's News. But we really need to pay attention. We are living in the end times. At this point, anything's possible. I bring these things to you not because I feel that you should be afraid. I understand these are scary things. I bring it to you so that you will not be afraid, meaning if you prepare for the worst, you can never go wrong. You never know what'll happen tomorrow. But if you prepare for these things as best as you can and pray about it and pray for the peace and comfort of God, you do not need to be scared. But if these things do indeed happen and catch you unaware, then you are going to be afraid because you will not be prepared. Hopefully that makes sense. You know, God is calling a nation to repent, and they're not repenting. So things have to happen, and prophecy has to be fulfilled. Let's just pray about this. We'll see what happens. You know, the dates listed there are coming soon enough, so we will soon find out if this is true or not. You know, I don't want to put out anything that is disinformation to you or untrue, and that's why I'm telling you up front that I don't know, because I can't confirm it. It seems very likely, and it very well could happen. Thank you so much, and God bless you. Attention, all of humanity. This is not a test. Drop to your knees immediately and submit to your master, the government. Everything that you thought was conspiracy has just become reality. Welcome to the New World Order. Enjoy the mark of the beast, and above all else, have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for submitting, and please remember, we are always watching you.